Okay, are you ready? Go.
Yes.
Tell me when you started. Wait a second. I want to take a shot of honey.
All right.
Thanks, pal. Try to make that copy if you can. Welcome very much to Conversations. We have on the line a person I don't even know, but it's been introduced to me by somebody. Somebody gave me a name of somebody somewhere, something, and we just took it out of the barrel. And I don't know, his name is Steve or some cockamamie name or something like that. But he's down in Virginia or some south of the border or something. But anyway, I guess we'll have to take it. We haven't got anything else, so we might as well talk down to Virginia. Steve, it's good to see you. How the hell are you? You look good.
I'm doing pretty good there, Harold.
Steve Neskis, futurist system thinker, exponential entrepreneur.
Woo,
Really good.
those are
Yeah.
big words.
Yeah, it's good to
Big
talk to
word.
you, brother.
It's
So,
a pleasure as well,
yeah, it's
Harold.
working. We got it working. So we're going to be talking some, and you're going to do some among other things. You're going to try and explain to me like blockchain and a whole lot of things that I'm way behind the curve on. But tell me, how are things going? And let me just make a quick reference to the fact you had that event down there in Virginia Beach where somebody shot up a whole building and something like that. That's pretty
Yeah,
traumatic, isn't it?
unfortunately, we're now part of that famous group of insane people that just go off, go postal, as they say, in their workplace, and
Yeah.
so
Did we
we're
ever get
Virginia
a
Beach strong, and we're trying to recover.
Did
And
we ever get a rundown of what was motivating that action or what it was?
well, it's still
He killed
that's
how many
the
people? 14 or something?
12.
12, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a few people got injured.
Yeah.
It's still under review, and a lot of the elected officials and the people that were involved
Yeah.
are asking that question too, to
Yeah.
open those
Yeah.
records up, and in due time, I'm sure that will be revealed.
I think
But
he had a
it's
contract that he had to do, or he had a relationship with the city of
well, he was
Virginia
an
Beach.
employee of the
Yeah,
city.
right. And
Yeah,
it was some sort of
and
a.
I think he gave a 2 week notice, and there was some kind of you know upheaval going on with him and his supervisor, and so those things do happen,
Yeah, let's.
and it's unfortunate, and then we tend to overreact on those kind of issues,
Well, when he
and
came in with a repeating rifle and went and killed 14, 12 people in a shootout that lasted for a half an hour all over that's a pretty big event. So
well, it wasn't a rifle
it
actually; it
was
was
it was a little
a
bit
pistol.
of an argument over a contract relationship or something like that.
Yeah, so
So
we'll
something
find out
happened.
more about that later. But yeah, we're Virginia Beach strong, and we're
Yeah,
going to, heal from this eventually, like all communities do.
yeah,
And it's unfortunate, it really is unfortunate,
yeah.
that humanity reaches that level of desperation that somebody has to
Well, we just did a
take that.
program today that we had a little problem with, but it's going to air about, with a fellow, and he was talking about being gay with a gay guy and everything, and about how that was a secret thing, and the violence that comes out in people who have been oppressed or something like, or feel they've been oppressed or treated badly. A lot of people feel they're treated badly by the system in place and so forth. And there's a lot of people who were slaves. Can you imagine being a black slave down in the South or something like that? And there's a lot of resentment and so forth. And it comes out in violence now and so forth. And so those are the
Yeah,
things we're conscious of. Yeah.
yeah. There's a great book by Amy Chu.
What is
She's a
that? Do you have a copy of it there?
Yeah,
Hold it
and
up if you can. Right, yeah,
let's
what does it
see.
say?
It's
Political
called
tribes. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it really speaks to all these issues that we're discussing right now,
Yeah.
and it's relevant because most of the world is tribal, and
Yeah.
we're
Right.
considered what they say a super tribe of many different tribes,
Yeah.
and we all want to be a part of a tribe,
Mm.
whether it's Greek or Italian, white, black, Hispanic. And the unique thing about the United States is that we are this super tribe, and we're supposed to be a melting pot.
Yeah.
But along the way, of course, we've had some injustices or major injustices like slavery. That was also, created by the slave holders in Africa that sold them to the white, people that
Yeah,
shipped them over here.
that might
So,
have, some people might
it
have taken exception to being treated that way,
right,
but there
right,
wasn't a hell of a lot that they could do about it because they had the power to enforce it. And that's the
right.
history of the world. The history of the world is, yeah, anyway, go ahead. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a nightmare from which we're waking up
Thank
from.
you. That's the line. Yes. History is
Yeah,
a nightmare from which we're attempting to awaken. Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So we're transcending, into a new speciation, hopefully.
Hopefully,
Uh,
right, right.
and as we discuss the issues that we're going to be discussing, one of the major things is our social interaction, and how are we going to navigate uh, getting finance to the people,
Yeah.
and economically, how are people going to earn an income from all this new technology that's going to be taking people's jobs. So there's a lot of those social issues that we do have to address. And
Yeah.
in my book that I'm going to be finishing up hopefully by the end of the summer, which we'll talk about later,
Good. Yeah. By all
that
means.
will
What's
address
it
that.
called? Blow up or blow up or something?
No, it's Grow Up or Blow Up, the
Yeah.
next
Grow.
paradigm shift to the Great Awakening.
That's
Yeah.
very good. That's a good title. Yeah.
Thank
Have you
you.
got it
Thank you.
trademarked?
Well, I have it. I
Have you
have it,
got your
Pat.
whole law team on that, protecting your interests there, pal? 'Cause you know
Well,
these guys are bandits. They'll come and steal something in a split second, like a falcon. They'll fly down and take it.
you can't trademark a title,
Oh,
but there's many books with similar titles that could be, but there's only one Steve Neskis, and there's only one book that's going to relate to the humanities the way I'm doing it. So I'm not afraid of that. I'm trying to bring
and we
humanity
all, in
together.
one great thing, when he said there's only one Steve Neskis, we all say, thank God.
Yeah, yeah, I say that too.
No,
S-
I'm just jesting, of course.
Well,
Yeah,
of course, of
yeah,
course.
yeah,
But a little history. I don't for the viewers out there, why we can jest the way we do
yeah.
that you wouldn't do to a normal guest.
Poison.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, poison.
Mm.
Is that we go back a few years? How
You
many
and I,
years? Yeah,
about decades. Yeah.
yeah, 40 some odd years now,
Is
or in
it that
counting.
long? Right? We go
Yeah.
way back. Yeah. You
So
were really there at the beginning, weren't you?
yeah.
Remember we went out to Brooklyn with that Rabbi Dome?
And we had the big 3/4 inch decks.
Yeah, it was
You know,
huge. You had to
the
carry that
tapes.
big camera and everything. Yeah.
And now we got everything in a small camera, and we can shoot high definition.
And everybody in the world has that now. It's just getting, everyone's a video maker, Everybody's got it right in their hand.
Right
Yeah,
here,
right.
right
There it
here.
is. It's amazing.
I just did a live taping with this on Facebook Live,
Yeah.
and did a show with Chris Van Cleef.
Oh, yeah. How is he? Okay.
He's doing fine,
Yeah.
and everybody was just amazed that we could record a whole concert on a phone and then hit a button, and it would be uh, to the world.
Yes,
It was
right.
out to
It's
the
like
world.
like an automatic podcast, huh?
And it's funny because as I'm recording Facebook Live, it's going out to all my contacts that I am now going live, so they all tune in.
How many do
So,
you have now? How many contacts do you have on your Facebook account?
well, I have 500, but the point being is that I had people from Asheville, North Carolina, and people tuning in, and we're just so happy to be able to see some of their old musician friends playing, and 10 years ago, this wasn't, even 5 years ago, that was impossible.
Yeah.
So things are exponentially moving
Yeah.
down to a new level of capabilities, and we're
Yeah.
going to talk a little bit about that.
I think we should
So,
have a new job title. It could be called exponential entrepreneur. I think somebody ought to come up with that happily. Don't you think? You
yeah,
think that'd be a good idea?
I think that's been
You
done,
have
and
that sucker trademark. That's
we
what I'm asking
trademarked
you. Have you
that.
got
Yeah.
all your lawyers all drawing that up and everything?
So, Peter Diamandis in
Yeah.
Abundance actually
Yeah.
talked about exponential entrepreneurism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And his other book is called Bold.
Bold. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
which is the first?
The first is Abundance.
Yeah.
The
Right.
future
Right.
is better than you think. And then
Yeah.
the how to is Bold.
Yeah.
And he was one of the first people to describe what these new beginnings were and how crowd uh, funding and crowd connections was going to bring in a future that we didn't know. Just recently are
Yeah.
discovering how that works. It's
Uh-huh.
it's quite amazing. Um, so there's a book called Machine Platform Crowd, and it's called Harnessing Our Digital Future by Andrew McFay and Eric um, Brian Josephson.
Right.
And I think, can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah. We can,
Okay.
as a matter of fact.
All
Yeah.
right. Awesome. And
Uh-huh.
he's describing in great detail um, from one of the gentlemen from MIT, and the other one is a professor at MIT Sloan School of Management,
Yeah.
and Andrew McFay is a principal research scientist.
Yeah.
And they really discuss the machine, the platform, and the crowd, and how all that is interacting, and it hasn't had this level of connection for a very short time. I mean, if you take, I can give you some examples of that. I think that might be something that you might be interested in.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But let's say for the machine is our computing power, okay?
Yeah.
And up until recently, we've been using computers to do word processing. And if you can remember, the first computers were like were uh, cards that were punched and
Yeah.
holes,
Right. Right. Yeah.
and that's how things were done, and it was helping us greatly, and it improved our capabilities of performance.
Mm-hmm.
But little by little, we developed the computer to actually be digital, and that actually gave us much more productivity. It enhanced our productivity tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, um, but it actually increased even more when the machines were able to not only just be reactive to input that we had, but they could actually do deep learning. Okay.
Deep learning.
Yeah.
You want to give some definition to that? What does that mean?
Right. Well, let me just say that back in I think it was 2016,
That's
Google
not
came
that
up
long
with
ago. That's a couple of years.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
actually came. And I'll use this one example. Okay, there was a game called Go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go is a great game. That's China, I think. Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was about 2,500 years ago
Yeah.
that it
Right.
was played in China.
Uh-huh.
And Confucius said that you shouldn't be playing any kind of frivolous games, but you should play Go, because
Yeah.
it's played on a 19 by 19 grid with white and black,
Right.
pieces,
Uh-huh.
and the amazing strategies that you can do on that 19 by 19 grid is just the complexities of it is so hard to even conceptualize. So a regular computer, let's say if you made a move, the computer would say, okay, what other moves could be possible? Like in chess, there's only a finite amount of moves, so
Yeah.
that's why we could have a computer actually, Watson beat a chess master.
Do you
But in
remember Ray Kurzweil predicted that from 10 years out when the
right,
computer would defeat the chess master within about a week or something?
I think it was a
That was
month, but
amazing. Age of
yeah,
spiritual machines. That was a
right.
incredible foresight. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was just the beginning. Now, if they predicted, they tried to compute how many moves there actually is in Go,
Mm.
and they said it was 2 uh, times 10 by the 170 power. So that's
That's
like
that's
that's 2 with
Einstein.
170 zeros. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, to give you
Getting
some
absurd, huh?
perspective of how big that is,
Yeah.
the observable universe in atoms
Yeah.
contains only 10 to the 82nd power. So if you took like every atom in the universe and made them a world,
Yeah.
there still would be more possible Go games than atoms. Okay, so
Yeah.
so there it was a problem with trying to actually beat a really good Go player.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
remember that from 20 years ago. Go was a big hot item. Yeah. Yeah.
so what happened was, let me think about where it was. It, there was this one guy. He was the best in the world. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and he could outbeat anybody. So they put this new deep learning computer
Okay.
that Google had created. Okay, in 2016, because in 2015, um, a month earlier, they said it would take 20 years before a computer could even think about beating anybody in Go. Okay, but what happened was that Google came out the following month in a paper about deep learning,
Yeah. I
tree
heard.
learning,
Uh-huh.
and it was all about that the computer could now actually strategize. So they put in the 30,000 moves
Hmm.
games that they had about Go, and it played another 30,000 or 30 million, no, 30,000, and then they did another. They played another 30 million or 30,000. I can't remember exactly
Oh, a
what it
million
was.
here, a million there. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it was amazing. So
Yeah.
it learned
But
another
real.
30,000 games. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and once it did that, it was able to strategize and beat the best Go player.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So this is what's happening in deep learning. Not only is it are computers able to uh, just do just fundamental things now, they're able to think and strategize.
Hmm.
So we're coming to the age where computers are actually, by putting in data, can actually strategize, um, kind of like a human being now.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
that's quite amazing, and quite a feat.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the age we live in. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
that
all
is,
going. It's all developing exponentially,
and that's the
which
age
is
of machine,
another amazing feature of the modern world. Yeah.
right? And then now the platforms. If we look at how the platforms are being developed, we have platforms like Facebook, Airbnb, that have no traditional assets of their own industries. Okay, so um, in other words, Facebook is one of the biggest advertisers, but it has no advertising. Airbnb is one of the biggest booking of rooms, but they have no rooms.
How? Wait a minute. You're talking something sounds non sequitur. What are you
Well,
talking about?
this is about the platform.
Oh,
Remember, machines have developed to what we were talking about. Now, platforms. What are the platforms? Okay,
hmm
platforms are like Facebook, Airbnb. You know, these are the things that traditionally, if you were going to run a motel, okay, you would you would go onto the website and you would book a room, let's say with the Hilton or one of the major motels.
yeah.
Now you go into Airbnb and book through this platform
The whole
called
damn.
Airbnb, and it has no rooms. It just books rooms, and it's the biggest booker of rooms.
I don't
Okay.
understand. You have to make it a little clearer to me, my poor old mind. I can't
Okay.
quite get my mind around it, and I'm sure there's some others who might be in the same situation I am with that. Could you make it a little more clear in plain English?
Let's see if I can do that for you.
Okay.
Um, let's see. The platforms, okay,
A platform, yeah.
okay, is like Facebook. You know what Facebook
Facebook
is?
is, yeah, huge. Yeah, right,
Okay.
right.
Well, they're the world's most popular media
Yes,
company,
yeah,
but
right.
they create no content. In other words, other people go on and advertise on Facebook,
Yeah. Okay, I
but
get
they're
it.
the most popular media owner of content.
Yeah, it fits right into that new cell phone that's in your hand. You can go
Right,
on Facebook and make NBC, no, Academy Award movies for crying out loud with the grandkids.
right. But
Yeah,
Facebook is basically a media content creator,
yeah,
but they don't create the content.
yeah.
All they do is supply a platform
For the others to
that
do it.
for people to do it. The same thing with these Uber, for instance.
Uber, yeah, drivers.
Uber has no cars,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but they're the platform that all these Uber drivers utilize and customers utilize to get an automobile.
Right, right. And
So
there's
that was what a platform is. Did that make more sense to
yeah,
you
yeah,
now?
yeah. It does. Yeah, and it's here. It's right on the streets of Manhattan, all over. Yeah.
Right. So that's what a platform is, and these platforms are the new way to create a whole new revenue stream.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Um, Facebook did over 6 point something billion dollars in advertisement. Okay,
How
but
much?
over 6 point something billion dollars
Good
in
grief.
advertising. It's
Good
just
grief.
extraordinary
Yeah,
amounts of
yeah,
money. You know,
yeah.
so these companies are making huge amounts of money and becoming really highly valued, but they don't have any product. If you
Wow. Yeah,
if you go to uh, you know uh, Amazon,
yeah.
Amazon does not basically have product. Okay, it's a lot of small
They
companies.
do a lot of delivery.
Right, they do
It's right to
delivery.
the door. Right.
What's the Chinese equivalent to that? You know what it is?
Chinese takeout. Yeah.
No, there's a Chinese equivalent, and they only use other people's warehouses. They don't even use what Amazon uses
Uh
right now.
huh.
So that's what platforms are. Now, the crowd is people like us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so um, this is a new type of funding called crowdfunding.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
Indigo is a platform that you can crowd source income. And there's different ones like that. Um, so let me give you an example of what GE did in 2014.
Okay.
They worked with the University of Louisville,
Louisville, yeah.
Louisville, and launched a joint initiative called First Bill. Okay, and it was considered what they call a co-creating co-creation community. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and GE was creating a new type of ice machine that was actually had holes in it so it would absorb flavors, and it was easily crunched. People like to chew on ice,
Mm-hmm.
and they needed to design this, so they went on to Indigo, and they used the crowd to help them design and market a product that was within its expertise.
Huh.
Okay,
Huh.
and they started selling it at $3.99 pre-ordered. Okay, this is before the machine's even built.
Is that $399 or three
Dollars,
dollars and 99
three
cents?
three $399.
Okay, thank you. It's a little over, yeah, yeah.
And then they bumped it up to 499.
Mm.
The goal was a couple of $100,000 in sales. In the first day or so, they outdid that, and by the time the campaign was over, they had sold at $499 $1.2 million worth of orders.
Wow, that's pretty quick thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
and they had $90 billion in assets, so they didn't need the money. But now this is a new form
You're
of
talking about a whole nother world, brother, that
yeah.
I'm familiar with. Yeah, right. Go ahead. Yeah.
So this is commonplace now in
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah,
business
yeah.
strategies,
Right.
in the way people want to fund a new business. They will go on these platforms and crowdsource um, to have uh, either customers or help pay for the movie that they're making now. And they'll go on there and say, "Look, I'm making a movie. I need your help, and for helping me make this movie." And by the way, they get no ownership,
Ah, yeah.
and they get no stock value. This
Mm-hmm.
is just pure funding. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they get something for it. They usually say, "Okay, I'll give you." If they're making a movie, let you see the first showcase of it, or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
A person making an album would say, "Look, I'll send you an album cover, and if you give me $5,000, I'll come and play a concert at your house." Okay, if the let's say to create a new album might cost them between 5 and 25,000, so they'll say, if you give me X amount of dollars, I'll even come in and do a concert at your house. So this is a new way of funding that's going on.
Wow, you're up on some of that stuff. I don't know. You're way ahead of me on all of that, but it's interesting. Go on, more and more in terms of describing the realities of world business development. Yeah,
Right.
and we're going to get to what do you call it? What do you call that thing?
Chain
Bitcoin
block.
and all that stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
And this is one of the ways that are being funded. Okay.
Hmm.
Now we can talk about Bitcoin and Facebook with their new chain block system, and they're
Chain
two.
block. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a new way of creating
Is it
a
chain block or blockchain?
blockchain.
Blockchain. Yeah.
Okay, and this is a new way of creating money out of thin air.
Yeah. Right.
It's just crazy.
They had a
Now,
thing on 60 Minutes about that for the island of Malta in the Caribbean. I mean, in the
uh
Mediterranean is a place for blockchain.
well, there's a lot of places
I
for
couldn't
blockchain.
understand what they were talking about, but they
Right.
seemed to see that it was really important, and it was quite an important piece. Yeah, and it's the future of business, but it's also a lot of nefarious stuff they're claiming is going on there.
Well, it's always been that, technology always has two sides to the sword.
Mm.
Okay, not only is it good for some things, it's bad for other
Yeah,
things. Okay, and it's always been that. Even when looms learned to start
you're right,
creating,
right.
the people that were knitting actually went and started tearing down the looms. They were
Right.
crushing them, saying,
Right.
"This is going to take my job."
When the
Um,
loom learns to weave, huh? Yeah.
right. When the
Yeah.
loom learns to weave, we won't need slaves anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Ancient Greeks said that,
Yeah.
and we're getting to that point now, which is
Okay.
a good thing.
It
Um,
can be a good thing, but it's sure playing hell with a lot of the things we're used to thinking about, or the
right.
world in terms that we're used to thinking about it.
Sure. Identity.
Yeah.
Like I'm a doctor, or and also the way we get our income.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things. But getting back to the blockchain, Bitcoin was the first blockchain to be developed. Okay.
I think Bitcoin came first, didn't it?
Yes, it
Yeah.
came first,
Yeah.
and what it was a mathematical equation of a finite amount of money
Mhm.
that was just created in thin air.
Yeah.
And at one time it was going for cents, and then, like you said, the two Facebook guys got into it, and with their $65 million that they got uh, from their settlement of Facebook, which they are supposed to have invented, and somebody else just ripped them off, and we talked about that. But they invested all that money into Bitcoin, and at that time it was like $8 to $9 they invested it. Well, Bitcoin actually had a rally up to $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bitcoin is based on a system kind of like what the gold system is. There's a limited amount, and so whatever anybody is willing to pay, the value is driven up or down. So,
Mm-hmm.
at one time gold was, quite low, and then it shot up to $1,800 because people were worried that the world's money was actually becoming worthless.
Uh-huh.
So gold has always been a standard that people have migrated to in times
Yeah.
of fear.
Uh-huh.
But gold has its limitations too. It's heavy. You can't move it. You can't eat it.
Uh-huh.
And all those kind of things. But it did go up to as high as about $1,800, and now it's settled around $1,200, $1,300 an ounce.
Mm-hmm.
And people have made, so out of thin air, people had made tremendous amounts of money. Now, Facebook is coming out with their own chain block blockchain
Yeah.
system.
Right. Right.
Um, but it's not based on a gold standard. They're going to use asset based, so they're going to buy bonds, and their money is going to be backed by government purchased bonds. So it's actually developed with MasterCharge and PayPal and a few big people like that, and it's going to be handled by a third party that is a nonprofit. So um, most people, even Business Magazine, can't tell you where they're going to put the money or anything like that. It's so new. Governments don't even know how to address it right now. So you're not alone with not understanding, um, the blockchain
Oh,
or chain.
I'm way behind. I'm way behind. A lot of these teenagers will tell me about it. They seem to be able to cotton on to it or understand it and everything, but I'm still trying to catch up with, DVD or something. I'm way in the
Yeah.
past. Yeah.
Well, it's something that people have been playing with. I talked to a shipping person that ships containers on ships, and he says, "Oh yeah, we've been using blockchain for our containers now for some time." So they designed a system to be able to trade within their own uh, shipping platforms,
Mm-hmm.
so they would give so much money into this blockchain system, and it would move around all these containers without having to move money, because money has to be going through banks, and then it has to go through, if it's U.S. currency, it has to be changed over, to different currencies and
Yeah. Yeah.
different values, where they decided to make it a certain amount, and that's how they move their containers.
That's
So
something
it,
that's staggering. Do you understand? You're saying words. Do you understand what they mean? Or the
yeah,
words that you're
yeah.
saying? Because
Well,
I have a little hard time catching
it's a
up with it.
mathematical
Yeah,
equation.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
just think, and it's hard to understand that these things are going to be utilized. But I'm using blockchain in the community-based design that I'm developing, because we've talked about machines, we talked about platforms, and we talked about the crowd. Now,
Yeah.
the crowd is being used by corporations, and corporations have been using people for a long time.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
develop their immense wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what I predict, um, I coined this word. It's not communism and it's not socialism. I call it um, you know
Oh, say it, say it,
okay,
say
a
it,
capital.
say
You
it,
know,
say it. It's not
I call it.
communism. It's
I
not
call it.
capitalism.
I,
It's
it's called capital. Um, um, Collective capitalism.
collective
Okay,
capitalism. Ladies and
collective
gentlemen, have you got that
capitalism.
trademarked, my brother?
Well, I
You
just
have your
coined
team
it.
of
It doesn't
lawyers
need to be.
trademarking that.
And what's
I'm
going to
looking
happen?
out for your interest.
That's fine. I
Yeah.
mean, in collective capitalism, there is no one owner of it. We
Mm.
are all are here to become supportive in owning all the capital creation.
We all are getting supportive in owning all the capital that exists, or something.
That's
That's
right.
kind of a large claim, there, young man. I'm
Well,
wondering if you got evidence to back it up.
Well, that is where we're headed.
Okay.
It depending on like how fast things are moving.
Very
Uh,
fast.
uh, Most companies are what they call linear thinking.
Yeah.
If you look at Kodak, they invented a digital camera. They hid it because they were worried about their paper, biting into their paper development and all that. And all of a sudden, they are now. An old dinosaur that is now bankrupt because they didn't continue on focusing on that digital camera that at one time was nowhere near the quality of film, but now people use digital cameras like they do film.
But
Okay,
how
it's
about
gotten
all
that
this blockchain and all this stuff? It sounds to me like something out of a like
sci-fi.
not sci-fi. I was thinking more of like a mob movie, or somebody, the mob, or something
No,
like
no, 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 no.
you
Mob
know
mob just steals money.
yeah, no.
This is an agreement with people
But is it
that
involving the leadership of the world? Are they involved in this?
they have to eventually.
Are the
They're being
leaders of
pulled.
the business world involved with what you're talking about, and will know better what you're saying than a lot of the citizenry would be able to understand?
Oh yeah, they're meeting quite a bit. In fact, Mastercard has gotten involved with the Facebook to develop this now. Okay, this new blockchain, um, because they saw that it's not going away. Okay, so the new development, what I'm looking at is this collective capitalism, is that when we start owning all this capital, and I mean we're going to own Facebook one day, and we're going to own Amazon, and we're going to own everything.
That's a
Okay,
pretty
as
big
people,
claim. Wait a minute. Capital, we're going to, we,
we,
that's the
yeah,
people,
the
are going
people.
to own Facebook, and they're going to
Hmm.
own, the world,
Google, hmm,
Google.
all of
I
it.
don't quite understand how that miracle is going to occur, understanding things in an old fashioned way, like it sounds like propaganda or something, or impossibility being
Right,
claimed by. They used to sell witch hazel or something,
snake oil.
snake oil. They used
There
to
you
call it.
go.
It sounds that way to a
A
to a
layman.
person. No, to an old guy like me.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so, tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, okay. So right now, corporations basically own K Street, and they tell the
Yeah.
elected officials what they want in the bill, and so they actually write the rules. As we become owners of the capital production,
How's that going to be achieved?
Well, I have in my book, I designed it where we start off with certain assets that we can control, and once we become oh 1 billion people in 10 years.
Wait a minute. Now you're going we. Let's see. The we. You're talking about the we, the people on large. You're
Right.
talking about.
Have ownership of their own
And
capital
how is that
production.
going to be achieved
Well, there's
politically
different
and politically and so forth?
Well, there's different ways to do it. I have a special way that will be coming out of my book with a special reality show that makes everybody an owner, and special systems with deep learning tree systems that allow like minds to do like projects together. Now, you got to understand that all these companies, there's one thing that they need, and what's that?
Well, I don't know. Raw
They,
materials or
well, I mean, after they make the product, what is the one thing that all these customers need when they make their widgets, whatever
the
it is?
market.
Yeah, they need the
They
people
need
to
people
buy
with
it.
buying power, and the
Yeah,
people are going to be put out of the process of being needed in the production.
right. But the
So
saying
that's
is
a
that
conundrum.
they need us as buyers.
As buyers, but
Right.
but used to there be a little job. There used to be a little relationship there called a job. That used to be
Right.
relevant to how you got money by what you got, what you did.
Correct.
So
And I
that
think that's not unrelevant. I think they're going to be that for a long period of time because there's only about 40 to 60% of what computing can do, but the mind and the being has to do the rest of it. What I'm saying that sooner or later, the people are going to own the capital production,
that'd be
and it's
interesting to
yeah.
know how that's going to be
Well,
achieved.
that is
It
something that
isn't
I'm going to
relevant,
be
is it?
launching.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give out all those.
Oh, give out!
I
Come
can't do it.
on.
I can't do
You
it. But
can't sit on
let me
that
let me
fortune all your life.
let,
You
let,
can't
let me
just sit
give you
on that,
one
Mr.
example right
Nero.
now that's already out there.
Okay.
Okay, the Mondragon Group.
Oh,
Okay,
Mondragon, yeah, right.
yeah.
France,
So
in
they
Spain.
in Spain they
Yeah,
started off with a small oil
that's
lantern,
true. That's true.
and then they developed over 500 businesses now. They own the largest bank. They own the largest grocery stores. They have their own research and
That's in
development company.
Spain, right? Is it still
Yeah,
in? Is it
and it's
outside
going
of
worldwide
Barcelona?
in kind of in its research and development.
Uh huh.
So that everybody that's they're in specific businesses are owners. There is
Yeah,
no
yeah.
stockholders. In other words, the worker.
Is Mondragon really is really growing, and is it really a model that's got legs?
It has legs. I
Okay.
think the model that I'm coming up with even more has
They would have legs and hands
well,
and feet
well,
and.
well, it's going to take it to the next level, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have one business and you put your retirement money in, you're a victim of that revenue stream. Let's say refrigerators or
Yeah.
whatever, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what about the digital platforms like Facebook and stuff like that that make mad money,
Yeah.
or lawyers? They make so much more money than making a washing machine.
What kind of transformations are required? Let it say at a political level, or at a normal level of people's thinking that might make all of this possible and understandable to a mass audience of the world population. Do you think?
Right. Well, that's what I'm coming up with in my book, Grow Up or Blow Up: The Next Paradigm Shift to the Great Awakening. First of all, what we need in a world is a goal. Now, we're going to the moon now again, and we're going to go to Mars.
They are
That's a
going to go to the
goal.
moon physically. Are they
Yeah.
really? Yeah. Okay.
There and there's a lot of reasons for that, but um, basically the world needs goals instead of just fear. Right now, we're
Okay.
being, Republican, Democrat, all these
Yeah.
fear-based systems are going around scaring the bejesus out of
Well,
us.
it's still whoever's got the biggest club rules, as has been the
Yeah.
history of the planet. Yeah.
But at the same time, when we had a goal to go to the moon, we kind of united as a country.
It was a
You know,
major event. Yeah.
Yeah, and it gave us pride and stuff like that. So we need a worldwide understanding of what that does and what the potential of that can be. So Mashiach Kaku describes man as man one, man two, man three. Man one is like when we have our energy, needs met. We have money no longer an issue. Man two is when we're controlling sun energies, and three, I think, well, let's say we're in the singularity. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
that's a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's
right.
Michio
So how do
Kaku.
we
Yeah.
get to man one? Let's just get
Yeah.
to man one.
Well,
Okay,
okay, yeah.
so
He's still really putting it out. Yeah, Michio
yeah,
Kaku's good.
Mashiach Kaku is great.
Yeah.
So to get us to man one, we're going to need a system that allows all like-minded people to come together and put their incomes together, okay, and utilize the income that they need, and then take the rest of that income and buy more assets
Well, I
and
think if you're going
continually
to
buy
everybody
more
get
assets.
together, I'd like to get together in that little thing around the table, and I'd like to put all my assets on the table and have, say, the Rockefeller family put all their assets on the table, and then we could divvy it up.
Well, it
But I
will. It
don't think
will.
it's going to work so well from the
It's not gonna.
standpoint
It's
of the
not gonna.
Rockefeller family.
Yeah. Well, it's not going. It's not going to divvy it up the way you're saying.
No.
What's going to happen is that we're going to say, oh, this industry needs $10 billion. This industry needs this. Okay. So we're not going to. So you're thinking too individual.
Old-fashioned. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is what the mindset that has to be changed. It's not about you or it's not about me. It's
No.
about us.
Well,
So when you
okay.
think about systems, you say,
Yeah.
okay, well, we need something to be having to build our houses and to own the real estate. So it's not about individual. It's about collective purchasing power. Okay,
Well, that's
and
going to
so
have to be because the technology is going to be very, very conveniently and exponentially doing away with the need for what used to be called workers or job holders.
right,
They gave them a claim upon income.
and not only
That's
that,
going to be a real confusion. That's going to be a real burden to get over because that's
it
the way they
is.
had to distribute buying power. And people are going to have money to be able to clear the market of the good things that can be done. And there's
Right,
going to have to be
and
some
and we
alternate
will
way of them getting money in their pocket than
sure.
being a job holder. Oh.
Yes,
Mhm.
and so that means that we have to learn other things that human beings are good at, like using their imagination, taking care of the elderly. We will free ourselves from the mundane so we can do the important work. And a very famous person said that many many years ago, and his name was, you remember?
I don't remember.
Bucky Fuller.
Bucky Fuller was an absolute, total genius
Treasure. He's a
treasure.
treasure.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
And he says
definitely.
that we're hurling through the universe in spaceship Mother Earth,
Yeah.
and that we're going 200 million miles an hour through this universal, a little arm in the universe, and actually the sun is pulling us. So we're not just going around the sun. The sun is pulling us, and we're just traveling through this whole solar system. I mean, it is alive,
Yeah.
and that by creating through good design, we'll be able to take care of the mundane so we can do the important work, whatever that is, okay? Whatever we decide what the important work
Well,
is.
that's very important to take care of the need. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
And
We have a
so,
capability of providing for everyone that we couldn't have even dreamed of in the past, and it can
absolutely.
include everybody rather than just in order for one to win. Zero sum has been the assumption of our political leadership. For one group to win, somebody else has to lose. There's not
Absolutely.
enough. Never can be enough. So for one to win, it's old realpolitik. Whoever's got the biggest gun can conquer and so forth. And that's still irrelevant in the political thinking of the world. And I wonder
Yes.
what's going to take us out of that. Some new way of forming capital or
Yes,
ownership
that.
of assets that could
Hmm.
be a way for the citizenry to have income other than just a labor relationship to production. That's a big step that is called for by what the universe is telling us is coming.
This is
And
very,
I
very
don't see it
true.
in our political leadership.
Well, you're not going to see it in the political part. of the leadership. It's going to come from entrepreneurs like myself, and it's not a bad word to be an entrepreneur or a systems thinker. If it's utilizing it not just to make another widget, that you can make $1 million. Can we actually create systems and mechanisms that free us from the mundane so we can do the important work?
Well,
And
that's
that's
good.
what
You
my whole
started with
life work
exactly
has
how
been.
do we do it and how do we deal with the inherited institutions, say the nation state and the international order and those kind
Right,
of things
right.
that
And the
still have a
tribal
considerable
systems that
say
we
in what's
have.
going on. Yeah,
Yeah, and the tribal systems that we have, and the
yeah,
religions, and all the things that kind of block humanity from coming together.
yeah. That might be the challenge before us. Yeah, right.
I think that the technology is moving just
Exponential.
exponentially and
Yeah.
great. It's our fundamental behavior as humans that are it's slowing down this
Hmm.
whole process. Okay,
Hmm.
so I have spent a lot of time trying to focus on what will it take for people to feel at ease enough to feel that they still keep their independence and their ability to shift when they want to shift, um, to have some kind of anonymity if they want it, or be able to connect into something when they want it, and still enjoy the whole capital production. Now, there's another group of people called CESJ, Center for Economic and Social Justice.
Norman Curland, I would say.
Norman Kurland,
Yeah.
yes, and he has devised, along with Louis Kelso, binary economics,
Oh yeah.
and
And
this can be a platform that can transcend the old modalities that no longer serve us into the new ones that I'm developing too. So I don't mind this being a bridge system, okay? But eventually, corporations will be all owned by the people. I predict it, and I predicted that it can happen much quicker than we even understand, okay? But it needs systems to be able to do that, and that's what I'm designing and launching in the next few months, and we'll be able to talk about that as I launch it. So, you'll be one of the first people to experience that experience
I
because,
sure better be because
yeah,
you know what I mean. I got a couple of really big buddies of mine that we you know who I'm talking about.
yeah. I
You know
mean,
the
you,
ones I'm talking about, and they
yes,
better deliver, pal. You better deliver, or else you're going to be in
a lot of
considerable
doo doo.
visitation by some people you don't want to be visited by. If you know what I mean.
I understand,
All
but
right.
you've always interviewed the leading minds, Kurzweil, and all the different minds that have moved this planet forward. And when I came to New York, it was for that one reason: is why was the financial capital of New York City going bankrupt, and how and why that was happening. So, of course, I came in through the music industry and Richie Havens,
Yeah, Richie
work,
Havens, God bless him. Yeah.
working on the Common Ground album, and
Yeah.
Particulo, our friend
Oh
Particulo,
yeah, yeah.
said that I was a visionary and that
Did
I
he
would.
say that? Frank said that?
Yeah, Frank
Frank,
said that
my
to me.
Frank, said you
You're
were a
Frank.
visionary.
Yeah, he actually
Did you
said
get it
that.
in? Did you get it in writing? Did he write it in blood?
But he says that I'm going to put you in the video department.
Uh,
And I said, well, I'm only a photographer, because I was a
I'm
restaurateur
only a
before
little
that.
photographer.
And he says, no, you'll learn. And of course I did.
You'll learn. He
And he
didn't
says,
say it
but
that way. He said you'll learn.
yeah,
That's
you know
different
how
than
Frank
you'll
was.
learn. Do you
And
understand? It's all in the enunciation. I'm trying to help you, young man. I'm trying to help you, right?
and he says I will be meeting Richie Havens at a friend of his house that's having a birthday party, and his name was Harold Hudson Channer.
Ah, and the rest is history. Right,
Yeah, and
right,
and
right.
there's when I really got to meet Richie Havens for the third time, and then you had announced at the same time I was meeting Richie that you had just interviewed Timothy Leary,
Yeah, Timothy
and
Leary, we had done.
and
Yeah, he's
and
there.
and that we should sit down and listen to the interview. So Richie Havens and I are sitting down,
He was at the
and
house. He came to our
yeah,
house. Yeah,
he
Richie.
did,
Yeah,
yeah.
Richie is a dear friend of mine. Yeah,
Yeah, he was
yeah.
a good, a
He was really good.
good,
I talked to
all
his
part of
buddy
that
the
new
other day
pulse.
on the phone. Yeah, Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Was all
Sorry.
part of that New Pulse gang.
Yeah.
That we were part of the peace and love movement and progressive thinking, and something blowing in the wind. And Bob Dylan said this about
He said
Richie.
it. Yeah.
He said that there is Richie Havens and then everybody else.
Is
He
that
was
right? Did he say that?
yeah,
Really? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, he had that special connectivity to humanity.
Were you
So
at Wood? You weren't at Woodstock.
I wasn't
I
at
was
Woodstock.
there.
You were there,
I
man. That
was
was great.
there. Ah, I was there.
Yeah.
600,000 people, just all kinds of people, strange people, and everything on a spur of the moment thing,
Right. It was
600,000 people wanting music, music, and nothing, and then all of a sudden, clankle, 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 and then came Richie Havens singing
freedom. Freedom.
freedom, freedom, yeah. And it just rocked from there on for all that time. It went on forever. It just ruined so many families that never got back again together.
Well, that
After
was the
they,
beginning of peace and love and
yeah,
the
yeah,
capability of crowd
yeah.
uh, development. That was like the
Well,
first
that was
crowd.
signaling a major thing. You see now
Yeah.
we're coming into the Anthropocene. The
Right.
geologists of our intellectual community has declared we're no longer in the Pleistocene, nor are we even any longer in the Holocene. That ended the Holocene. The last 7,000 years has now come to an end, and we're now in the Anthropocene, which got started along about 1970.
Well,
And
there's
that's
still
the
argument about
universally
that.
well circulated.
Yeah.
It's circulating up through the intellectual community. It's going to be declared. It's going to be a major transition point along about 1970, about the time Richie sang that song.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, there was
where
something
was
blowing
the
in the wind, like Bobby Dylan
sure.
said.
There
Okay.
there was this building of how man has layered the earth, and you can actually go 900 years. People have been saying, when did that time level actually occur? And man's effect on the earth, you could go back as far back as 900 years and see, the paintings on the walls, or 10,000 years, and so we have a mark from that point on. Is the new era that man has left
I
his
think
mark.
it's going to be seen 1970. It's going to be seen year one.
Well, I know you've been pushing
I've been saying
1970
that
for
for
a
a
long
long
time.
time. Yeah.
Yeah,
One of
70
the
is your year.
yeah.
But where I like to make the point is that when we were able
We got to
to,
round it out. Look,
okay,
there's a signal in show business. You got to go like this, you know. You got to get the guy off the stage. You're not going to have somebody come and drag us off the stage. We're not going to let that happen to us. We're going to close
no,
this show with a little of a plum, a little gentlemanly, you say. Good to talk to you again, Stephen.
it's my pleasure, my
Sorry,
pleasure.
sorry you've gone all off and don't have any dreaming going on anymore, big thoughts or anything like that. You've gotten more grounded like your mother wanted you to do always. But it seems to me it's helpless in that direction. Good to talk to you. Okay, so we'll be in touch, and thanks a lot for
I
the
guess the
program.
hour has gone
The
so
hour is
fast, so
gone.
fast.
It really goes fast when you're having fun, right?
It is.
Steve
So it's my
Neskis,
pleasure.
folks.
I look forward to sharing more about what I'm talking about in the future, down probably at the end of
Clock's
summer.
running. Clock's running. Hurry, hurry,
Okay.
hurry, hurry.
Peace to
Peace.
everybody, and
Okay.
love
Peace
and
and love.
happiness.
Peace and love. That's a good idea. Peace and love. Okay. Bye.
Take care.
Take him away. Take him away. Take him away. Take him away. Away.
You're too